Kicking it off here, I am joined today with Dan and Mallory Poirier, and I hope I got that last name as correct as
Yeah.
I could. Yeah.
It's Poirier is the Americanized
Poirier.
version.
Okay.
Poirier could be like the French version.
Yeah, very
I just
French.
got
Depends
back
how
from
we're feeling.
Quebec, so that I
Oh,
had
that
that on my
that
tongue.
explains it. That explains it.
So I appreciate you guys joining us. Dan and Mallory run Fetch and Catch, pet resort out of Buffalo, New York, and they also are heading up PackPro, which we're going to touch on both today and learn a little bit more about. Guys, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, we
Glad
couldn't be
to be
more
here.
excited.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So maybe if we could start just telling me a bit about how you even got started with Fetch and Catch.
Sure. So yeah, I was in business school at the time, circa 2010. Mallory was working at a vet's office as an assistant slash technician and wanted to get out of the vet industry, but still, enjoyed working with animals, just not as much in that capacity. And I was looking for a business plan to do as part of my business capstone project. I had to create a business plan, full scope, and so we kind of settled together. It was my project, but naturally we had to do it together. She was not enrolled with me at that time, but
I went to college as well.
right, by proxy, right. So we came up with the idea for this large, full-scale, professionally ran pet facility, which was a new concept for our area anyway. Everything was kind of a mom and pop, smaller shop, and this was just going to be the next level facility. And so I came up with the business plan, ran it by my professor at the end of the semester, and he said, "This is great, A plus. Also, by the way, you should actually do this because if all your figures are right and if your demographic studies are correct, this is a good idea. You should actually do it." So we did, and we signed our lease on our building 3 days after my graduation.
That's amazing.
I barely unpacked the U-Haul. I got back from Ohio, and I actually unloaded all my stuff from college into our building, and off we go.
Yeah.
So what was it like just diving in head first and starting this business that was, just a concept on paper, and now it's like, wow, this is real.
Yeah. It was pretty overwhelming at times, as anybody who's started one of these from the ground up understands. You have no idea what you don't know. And I
That's
think
almost a good thing, though.
true. We may not have decided to go forward. We didn't know what was in store for us. We lived here. I had a mattress in my office that I would stuff behind the door during the day, and then I would, at the end of a long day, shut the door. It would flop down. I'd lay down for 6 hours, get up, back to work.
I think so much of it, though, was interesting, at least for me. I know you'd probably agree because we agree on usually almost everything. But being best friends, some people were kind of nervous for us, like, okay, business, that's going to change your dynamic. But we have just such a great relationship that during those stressful, scary, uncertain, what's this going to be like times, like we would just laugh and we would just get through it, and you just get up and do it again. And so I'm thankful, and we always say this, like to have a partner like this where even the scary times, we were able to get through it.
Right.
And doing it by myself would have been almost impossible, I think. So, yeah.
You're exactly right. I think it really takes a strong partnership to get through those rocky times because they're going to come. And, they're out there. It's just how you handle them, how you navigate them. So tell me a bit about the dynamics of the business. What's it consist of? How big is it? What are the services?
Today, it's obviously grown quite a bit since 2012 when we opened, but today it is roughly 25,000 square feet in a industrial park, 3 separate buildings, daycare, overnight boarding, staffed overnight, grooming, training, and by daycare, I mean group daycare and then also enrichment daycare. So daycare for dogs that aren't either group play eligible or don't like group play or aren't a good fit for group play for one reason or another. Total among all services, we see about 200 to 250 dogs per day. We've got 55, probably closer to 60 staff members today.
Not 49.
There's a place, not 49. Well, full-time, 49 and a half.
FTE is different, yeah.
Part-time, maybe 12.
So that's a lot of personalities to manage. You got a lot going on. Obviously, a lot of dogs coming in and out. How, I guess, have you scaled to that size? Like, what did it take, and when did you realize we need to really formalize this process and what we're doing needs to maybe change or get some structure behind it?
I think I can kind of recall back to a time when maybe we had hit 75 dogs. I don't know if you'd agree with that. 50, 75, where the problems were kind of being amplified the more dogs arrived. So things that were okay when we had 20, 40 dogs a day, as we started to scale, we realized, okay, what we used to be able to do with that many dogs is no longer scalable going in the direction we were going in. So I think by the time we had gotten to like 75, approaching maybe 100, we just realized that things weren't as fun as they once were. And we were enjoying it less and less. And it was kind of a sad moment, but I'm thankful for it because it got us to where we are today. To a moment where we were kind of questioning why we were doing this because the days were getting harder. The joy was being taken out of it. And so we really thought at that point, okay, we need to do something different. Dan and I are not ones really to sit still for very long. So when we found those problems, and whether it had been staff, becoming more dissatisfied with their job, dogs getting louder, more incidences, we were having some more like dog scuffles and fights, all of those things contributed to us wanting to start to do something different. And it was really important that we did because we were able to scale to what we are today now, thankful to that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so at what point did PackPro kind of inch its way in and say, hey, this is a need in the industry. This is a need for us personally, is how I feel it probably started for you guys,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
it was a selfish need at first, for sure.
It was, and it sort of was not by accident, but we didn't know what we were doing when we were doing it. Like when we started revamping how we run our daycare and bringing in outside people and really dissecting it from probably 2014 to 2016 or 17, we didn't know we were creating PackPro. We just thought we were fixing our business that was not going the way we wanted it to go. And so once we got done with that, and we, we're able to look around and say that I'm proud of this again, and we feel good about this. We had a friend come out to visit our place, sort of unrelated, who owns a facility also in the Midwest. And she came out and we got involved with the Owners of Dog Daycare Network. And we were asked to speak at the conference about kind of what we did and how we turned it around. And so we went and spoke. And then at that session, somebody in the crowd came up to us afterward and said, hey, could I hire you to come to our facility and help us do the same thing? And then that was kind of the light bulb moment of like, oh, wait, there's a whole nother business here that's completely almost unrelated to what we've been doing. And so it kind of started to snowball from there.
So tell me about exactly what PackPro does.
Yeah, we're an online well, we started as consulting, in-person consulting. COVID hit, canceled everything, and then decided let's go online and make it virtual. So we created a series of online courses, body language, group management, first aid and CPR, customer service for the pet industry, new dog evaluations, and coming soon, leadership and staff management. And so online videos, all filmed in our facility. It's not a PowerPoint. It's not a bunch of slides. It's a real video content and an active group of daycare dogs, quizzes to follow up, workbooks paired with each course. And it's really a all-encompassing training system for a facility to implement to train their new hires and teach them what they need to know.
So you're taking new hires or existing staff and you're putting them through your course or program.
Yeah.
How long's the program? Like what's it consist of?
Yeah. So each course is roughly 3 to 4 hours. There could be 5 to 7 chapters per course. And so total course time, like start to finish for all of them, it's probably 10 to 12 hours of course content. Obviously that's broken up over the person's training period, and what's applicable to them. And a brand new hire wouldn't be doing new dog evaluations. That'd be somebody more senior. So, but yeah, a new hire can go through all the courses in about a week to a week and a half that pertain to them: body language, group management, customer service, first aid are kind of the 4 that we have our new hires go through. And so they can get through those in, depending on full-time, part-time, between a week and 2 weeks. And then by that point, we find in our facility, and a lot of other facilities find, they're pretty well equipped with the basic information they need to get out there and at least start understanding what they're seeing, managing a group of dogs off leash. Of course, every facility is going to have their own individual, how do we clean, what chemicals do we use, what's our individual process for a dog fight that may vary slightly. So there's always going to be that extra level of facility specific training that needs to happen, but we try to lay that groundwork for facility managers and owners so they're not having to regurgitate and teach all that basic stuff over and over again. And with the turnover in this industry, nothing more frustrating than finishing that in 2 weeks and then they leave anyway. And you've been talking for 2 weeks, trying to teach them everything, and then they didn't stay anyway. So we just try to provide that foundation for the new hires in a more automated way. And the facility has somebody that they can then take,
So I don't expect us to kind of like cover this whole 12-hour course that you've laid out in the presentation during the short time we have. But tell me, like, as you guys think about running a business like this, what are the basic building blocks that a facility can do to just improve operations, or what are the core principles that maybe directionally set them in the right direction?
I think in this industry specifically, the dogs play such a role. Obviously, we're working with dogs, but when things like, I can think back to when things were going not right for us, it wasn't because we just inherently wanted to do a bad job. We didn't know what we didn't know. And very quickly, the dogs began to take advantage of that and do what dogs do. And things, even all of our day-to-day stressors, became so much more heightened because of the stimulation that the dogs added. So I really believe that if you're going to have off-leash play, or even, enrichment daycare, or any time that the dogs are getting with other dogs in a group, you want to make sure that those groups are in a safe threshold of stimulation. To me, I feel like a lot of our other issues that we had as a business, we were able to think more clearly once the dogs were in a better state emotionally. And it's one of those things that I think if you're not really thinking about it and being really not productive, but if you're not really focusing on how to do that, or if you don't know how to do that, then it just gets out of hand quickly. And then everything else becomes so much harder. So having your groups well managed and having your staff understand what's expected of them is kind of what we help with. So how to get the dogs to be emotionally in a good place, how to get them to listen, how to get them engaged with the staff. Gate control is a big one that people really struggle with. So how do you get your dogs in and out of these groups safely where there's not scuffles and dog fights at the doors? All of those things, I think, contribute and kind of pile on and make a snowball of other issues for you, when that's kind of the heart, we say. It's like that's the heart of a lot of these issues. So getting your dogs in a good place and having them respond to your staff in a way that is safe and productive will help your staff stay sane and happy. And then you can focus on other things as a business, your SOPs, processes, procedures, hiring practices. Everything else becomes easier to focus on if the dogs are not screaming for 8 hours.
Right. We when we go to a facility, oftentimes the first thing we have to address is volume, because while when they're kenneled, or if it's primarily a boarding kennel, that's kind of one thing. There's only so much you're going to be able to do about that. But when we go into a daycare facility and there's multiple play groups and it's thunderous barking when they're all out playing, when it does not have to be. And we're there to talk about SOPs, talk about staff training, talk about, different processes and staff accountability. And all I can hear is this thunderous barking. It's like, we got to start there. How can we think about anything right now? How can we expect staff to absorb even what we're telling them to do? It's just, this is not an environment conducive to learning or development. So we have to start with the volume is often where we begin.
So I've actually been out to Fetch and Catch. It's what I would describe as a well-oiled machine. And as you step into that building, that is what is deafening, is the silence. It is like, it's remarkable because I've been to many facilities, and as you say, it's thunderous and loud. And
right.
I think I don't know the complexity to this answer, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. Like, what is the first step in getting control over your play groups in that fashion?
I mean, some of it, and it's a hard question to answer with just one answer because you really have to peel back the layers of why, right? I kind of dog nerded out one night and started thinking about like, what do dogs do in the wild, right? What are dogs? We've so humanized them and created this industry where they're cared for and pampered and it's a little extreme, obviously, but it's gone so far from where they were in pack mentality. You would never see, a pack of wild African dogs just barking from morning till night. That doesn't happen. Sure, there are moments, and although our facility is quiet, we have our moments too. But to your point, like what can contribute to just that constant? Like I ask myself, what does the environment look like? Are we using toys in daycare? Because toys are a stimulant. Are all of the dogs in one big group? So do we have 50 dogs in a room together versus having 18 or 15 to 18 dogs? Are staff being more reactive versus proactive in terms of even just behaviorally? Like, are there dogs out there that have separation anxiety or don't want to be in daycare? A lot of it is the intake. So what dogs are we allowing into our daycare groups? For us, we look for, if a dog has separation anxiety from its owner, this might not be a good place to start a dog away from yourself, as having them just go into a facility with dogs they don't know. So much, I think the biggest thing would be your intake process. Mm-hmm. What dogs are you allowing to come in? What does your meet and greet process look like? And what is the standard you're setting? Because the minute you start making, for us at least, like if we were to start saying, okay, well, we're going to let a handful of these dogs that like to bark when they're stressed, or we're going to just let them in, then you can quickly get back to that place very easily. So I would say things like just the environment in general is what you should start looking at. Like, what is it like to be a dog in this daycare? Are there toys? Are the staff checked out? Are we bringing dogs in that shouldn't be here? Those are some of the things that start to add to the noise and the volume. But that answer, I mean, there's so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing we like to try to figure out is there's usually a small handful of dogs that are kind of starting that, and the rest are just barking because they come in and no, that's what we do here. Our facility is kind of the reverse. If a dog comes in that's a little barky, like they stick out. Yeah. And so they quickly kind of learn like, oh, nobody else is really, I'll just probably stop that then because nobody else is doing it. And when I do, I get a timeout and that's not productive for me. So the reverse can happen where a normally quiet dog comes into a facility where there's 3 cattle dogs running around the room barking their brains out all day. Yeah, they may join in. So it's finding who are those main culprits, addressing them. Maybe daycare is not a good fit.
Or like, how do we address them? So we look at things like genetic makeup, right? So you brought up the cattle dogs. There are some dogs, it's like asking a fish to fly. Like they can't help themselves. And so we have to ask ourselves, is group play the most productive for them? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. We always have the same approach. We kind of look at genetic makeup as a contributing factor, but then we'll do things like active timeouts, putting the dog on a sup lead, walking it around with us. If that doesn't work and the dog is still just at a stimulation level where that's why they're barking because they're overstimulated, we would put them in a crate, give them a crate timeout, put a blind in front of them so they have some time to decompress for a second. And we just rinse and repeat consistently those steps to see if the dog will stop barking. And then you have to just be realistic and say, if it's not working, then we can talk to the client and say, this might not be a good fit for your dog.
You've also introduced, I think it's brilliant, a different type of daycare for a different type of dog, right? Tell me more about that.
Right.
It's not a one size fit all, that's for sure.
No, it's not. Day camp is, for those dogs that they're the working dogs, they're the high drive
So let me stop you
dogs.
there. You have like traditional daycare in one of your buildings, but then in another building you have what you call day camp?
Day camp, yep. Okay. So it is day care during the day for dogs that for one reason or another aren't a good fit for group. They don't like other dogs. They are way too much around other dogs. They're not spayed or neutered. They're, pick your reason.
Yeah.
But it's a place for them to go for the day. They get a variety of one-on-one activities with a staff member. One of those activities may be a social where they play with a handful of hand-selected dogs because they can handle that, and that's productive for them. It's more expensive than group daycare because it's obviously more labor intensive, but yeah, it's a great option. And we know that 50% of the dog population won't do well in a group environment. That's a well-known industry statistic. About half of the dogs won't do well. So if we have 150 dogs here today for daycare, that means there's 150 other dogs in the community that won't do well in daycare, that probably, at least some of them still need care. The owner still works a long day or whatever. So yeah, that program has become very popular, and we see about an even amount of day camp / enrichment dogs as we do group play. So on an average day today, if we have 120 daycare dogs in group, we probably have almost 100 between our enrichment facilities.
And I mean, that even comes in at a little bit of a higher price point too, right?
Correct. Yep, it does.
The PackPro training program for employees, is it obviously teaching them about all these tactics that you guys are kind of implementing on a daily basis? Does it also get into any client interactions or how to also communicate how a dog did throughout the day without actually butchering that interaction?
So we've got a customer service module that kind of surface level talks about, and we're going to probably be doing a second version of that that's a little bit deeper into how to communicate. But this is kind of talking to any staff member that's going to be interacting, not necessarily just the client facing staff, but as staff are walking dogs up to give it to the client, their dog, they can kind of know what to steer towards in terms of what is safe to say and what should you say for someone that is more qualified to give that information out. We also do a fair amount of coaching. So some of our subscribers actually have a coaching membership that involves them meeting with us once a month, twice a month via Zoom. And a lot of what we do in a deep dive for staff communication via clients is just talking out those situations and kind of training them on what's best practices for that, because these are pet parents that are somewhat sensitive to their dogs, and especially if it's a conversation that may be not so great and well received, if we know 50% of dogs are going to have some type of behavioral, I don't want to say issue, but something we'll need to discuss, that has to be handled very carefully.
Correct.
We plan to come out with a customer service module that's a little bit more in depth. So that's going to be coming up within the next year, probably, that can really do a deep dive into it because it's so important.
Mm-hmm. If one out of every 2 dogs that you see potentially, is a problem dog, how much do you guys try to rehabilitate or correct the issues versus just turning them away? Or as part of that, kind of recommending to the day camp side of things?
Yeah, a lot of times I'd say the vast majority of times it's recommending to day camp. And that's a lot of times people will go in thinking like this is a temporary place and eventually I can work my way back to group. And we try to reframe it right out of the gate. When you come in for your initial evaluation, it's not, we're going to evaluate you for group play, and if you fail, you have to go to the more expensive place across the driveway. That's not the message we're trying to send. The message, because that's not the reality. The reality is we're going to do an evaluation on your dog to determine which type of day care that we offer is going to be the best fit for your dog. And so it's not option 1, and if no, it's option 2. It's which of these options is a better fit. And we're going to kind of walk them through why that is. But you got to navigate it carefully, because if somebody comes in expecting one thing, and all their neighbors all go to daycare and they all go to group play, now I have to be the one who goes somewhere different. It's a tricky thing to navigate. So,
but trying to educate clients and that
Right.
there's nothing wrong with your dog. Your dog's not a problem. It's simply the environment. There are certain dogs, same with people, that do better in certain environments, right? So there's nothing wrong. Your dog doesn't need to be fixed. We need to make sure that we're putting your dog in an environment that best suits their needs. And that doesn't look the same for every dog.
and daycare is kind of a new-ish, relatively speaking, concept that is, highly unnatural. Explaining to people that it's a little bit bizarre from a dog standpoint to have 20 different dogs from other families in a room off leash together. Like I wouldn't say the most natural environment.
Very novel.
And so it's not unusual. I'm surprised that half of them do it successfully. If we're being totally
We say
candid,
that all the time. We'll go out there. I'm like, this is amazing.
this
Like,
is crazy.
you see what I'm seeing?
Right. Pick another animal and do that, and take them from all
Cats.
different areas, just put them all in a room. The fact that half can do it's amazing, and so there's nothing wrong with the other half that can't do it. In fact, it's very normal that they struggle.
I think it's a testament to like how many dogs and the volume that you guys serve, how well you're able to kind of maybe assess the dog as they kind of come through the door, but then also adapt them, because it sounds like, hey, we'll start you out at day camp, we'll maybe work you into daycare, and then just kind of keep that door open and keep them rolling in.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not we try to make sure that each day the dog that's in front of us today, we're doing the best we can for that dog, which is not always the same.
Let's talk more about the PackPro side of things. You guys also host in-person events that I've been fortunate enough to attend a couple of them. Very well done. I mean, you guys have the most amazing facility to put something like this on. I mean, heck, you're sitting in your in-house studio right now that you guys have this wonderful facility, and then you have this other building where you can have these presentations and these seminars that you can take people and take them. Obviously, it's not easy on your staff or your operation, I'm sure, to take these folks through your business as you're trying to run and operate on a daily basis, and then also kind of teach and show what's going on and why we're doing it certain ways. But tell me more about that and how that came to be, and why you do that.
It took a little convincing for some of the staff. I remember when we first proposed the idea 2 years ago. So we're going to bring 40-ish strangers in here for like a week. You can imagine, what? We're going to do what? Bring them into daycare? Right into daycare. Yeah, that's our plan. And it took a little navigating, a little convincing, but it works very well. And to my knowledge, there's really nothing else like that in the industry today, where you can get both the traditional conference seminar experience and also hands-on in a relatively busy operation.
Yeah, I think it's so unique because you just said it. You can attend the conferences and hear somebody on stage talking about an idea, but you're inviting them into the operation and you're seeing the idea in action. And you're dealing with situations and showing it firsthand. I think it's super useful and powerful. And then you also have the opportunity to then brainstorm with other facilities that are attending at the same time, bouncing around ideas. It really creates a really nice, intimate, I think, experience for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so fun. I mean, the people that we've gotten their feedback on have had nothing but good things to say about it. And I think, it shows that if you put your head down and do the work, the only reason we're able to do this is because we focused on our processes. We focused on what was important day of, like, okay, this is what we need to do today to be better than we were yesterday. That's the only reason we can do this. I mean, if you would have asked us in 2018 or 19, I would have been like, that is not possible. How could we do that? But it's thanks to our team, management structure. Everybody works so well together, but it really is just because of all the work we put into making this place the best we could. And then other opportunities like this have, but we've been blessed with those opportunities and blessed to be able to give other industry owners a glimpse into what it could be like, or even just getting little tidbits from us that they can bring into their own facility.
You guys are specialties at a dog walks through your door and assessing whether or not the dog's a good fit. Who's a good fit for PackPro? What type of business? Like if somebody comes knocking or gives you a call or sends out an inquiry, you probably jump online and kind of look at their profile, or you have that initial conversation. Do you have an idea who's a good fit for PackPro? What type of business is a good suit for that?
I think really a lot of it comes down to mindset. If the facilities, and there haven't been many, but the ones that may struggle are the ones that come in and say, I want my facility to be quieter and my staff happier, and I don't want any dogs to get injured, but I don't really want to change anything because I like the way we do everything. And so I think, I don't know what to propose there. other than potential pixie dust I can try that will, to get a different result. Sometimes you got to change the way you do things. And it's not major. I'm not asking a complete overhaul. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes it's just little things that we can tweak, either from intake process, evaluation process, how we start the day, expectations that we have of the staff. Do we expect enough from them? Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes we expect too much from them, and we put them in unreasonable situations, and it's not realistic. So just having an open mind, that to me, that's the ideal client, is someone that's ready for change, and they're at least willing to try it.
Yeah.
The good news is nothing we suggest is permanent.
Step one, admit you have a problem.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. And right.
What about different services? I know daycare is kind of your wheelhouse, but let's say there's a grooming operation that wants more calmness in the facility, or maybe they're very forward on the boarding side. Really, any facility could probably use your services as far as like staff training, right?
For sure. Yeah. We say it at the beginning of every masterclass. We say it whenever we go to a facility. Our goal is not to stamp out more fetch and catches all over the world. It's simply to show you what we've done that works for us, that we know has worked in hundreds of other facilities, and maybe you can take components of it and implement it into what you do to make your life easier, make your staff happier, make your dog safer. Oftentimes, no, I'm not a grooming expert by any means. We do run a successful grooming salon, and I'm sure there's things that we can offer. Again, even small things or principles, handling principles, leash work, something. We can help with something.
And I think you guys have like physical tools that you like to lean on too. You have certain leads that you like. You have
exactly.
Snack bags, or what are some of those things that are kind of your go-to?
Yeah.
I would say slip leads for sure. I mean, and having staff understand how to properly use a slip lead. It doesn't just mean put it on the dog and off you go. Leash pressure, in the sense of sometimes handlers are not paying attention to adding leash pressure to a dog unfairly, and what message that's sending to that dog. So that for us is a big one. Using that slip lead into a head halter, so the gentle heater approach, where it goes around the dog's muzzle and behind the head. There's been plenty of science to prove that there's like a calming effect that can be achieved if properly desensitized first. Treats, obviously, we are an advocate of safely using treats with dogs. Pet food is the path of least resistance for a lot of people and a lot of dogs. So if you can safely incorporate that into some of your day-to-day moving about the facility, that will definitely help give the dog an indicator of, yes, that's what I should be doing, and I want to do more of that to get more food. So those are, I think, two of the big ones. Crates, and properly using crates, and understanding that dogs are natural den animals. So they, if shown how to use it safely, dogs can actually be very successful in a crate, and it could be a really good tool to use to kind of calm a certain dog's energy down in a group, or in, boarding or grooming or what have you. So using those tools and having the staff understand how to properly use them, because any tool can be used improperly and then it's going to give you not the results you're looking for. So making sure people know how to use those are really important.
I think getting the employees up to speed, because sometimes as operators ourselves, we kind of take for granted that a slip lead, how do we use it, or how do we use certain tools to our advantage, and to have an employee have that structured learning experience to kind of get up to speed quickly is super helpful.
Yeah, or just you yourself too. So much of what we can do emotionally for ourselves translates to the dog. So not talking too much at the dogs, using your tone the proper way. So we are one of the biggest tools that we have in group with dogs. So I think a lot of that is keeping our emotional stability in check in group. How do we change our tone to get a different reaction from a dog, whether it's a recall and more of a high-pitched happy tone. When a high-pitched happy tone is not great, if a dog is excessively jumping on you, you wouldn't want to do that. So making sure the staff know how they impact dogs behaviorally is a big one.
Yeah, dogs feed off that emotion, and they can definitely sense it, and they'll play off of that for sure. We've said that oftentimes when somebody's dropping off for the first time and they're a basket case. It's like, come on, keep strong here. Like your dog
Right.
was playing off of how you're reacting, and
Right. Right.
don't cry out in the parking lot. Don't do it in here.
That's so true.
Well, guys, I cannot thank you enough for joining me and kind of talking through what you have going on. It's exciting to kind of learn as you guys evolve the PackPro system and obviously grow the Fetch and Catch franchise as you roll out. Appreciate your time and look forward to talking again in the future.
Yeah. We'll see you in Hershey.
See you in a couple weeks, Chris.
See you
Thanks
there.
very much for having us.